His name was a secret, his face a shadow in the dark alleys. In a world where gangsters and mobsters built empires on fear, there was a man even they feared. He wasn't interested in power or money. His passion was the art of killing. For decades, the police hunted a ghost, unable to find a single clue. Today, we'll tear the mask off this legend. If you watch until the end, you'll discover not only his methods, but also the psychological key to his brutality. A truth the FBI kept hidden in its archives for nearly half a century. Our story doesn't begin in the luxurious offices of mob bosses, but in the cold, brutal streets of Jersey City. Here, in the mid-20th century, grew up a boy named Richard Kuklinski. His childhood was hell on earth. His alcoholic father beat him nearly to death, once even breaking his nose. His mother, a religious fanatic, forced him to pray, then punished him with equal cruelty. In that fire of hatred and pain, the child died, and the monster was born. He had no sympathy, no pity, no fear, only emptiness. And he learned to fill that emptiness with the only thing that gave him control: violence. His first steps into crime came as a teenager. He beat to death anyone who dared to cross him. Street gangs quickly understood, you don't mess with this kid. He didn't play by the rules. He had no rules. He was pure, untamed rage wrapped in icy calmness. By the early 1960s, rumors of the ruthless Pole reached the ears of the Italian-American mafia. The DeCavalcante family, one of New Jersey's powerful crews, decided to test him. The task was simple and monstrous: kill a random person on the street to prove his loyalty in cold blood. For them, it was a test. For Kuklinski, just another Tuesday. He walked outside, picked a random target, and did his job, without hesitation. The bosses were shocked, not by the murder itself, they had seen hundreds, but by how he did it. No emotions, no adrenaline rush, as if he was simply taking out the trash. That day, his reputation was born. He became the mafia's cleaner, the man who solved problems, any problems. The dirty work even the most hardened gangsters refused became his trademark. He wasn't part of the family. He was their tool, the perfect killing machine. But true infamy came when he started working with one of the most brutal crews in mob history, Roy DeMeo's crew from the Gambino family. These men weren't just gangsters, they were a death factory. They had a system perfected to the last detail, but even they needed someone special, someone who could go further than the rest. And that man was Kuklinski. He didn't just kill, he experimented.
That's when he earned his legendary nickname, the Iceman. Why? Because he was the first to freeze his victims in industrial freezers. He could store a body for months, even years. Then, when police had long given up searching for the missing person, he would dump the frozen corpse on the roadside. When coroners examined the body, they couldn't determine the time of death. The ice threw them off completely. This became his signature, baffling the best detectives in the country. But freezing was only one of his many methods. He was an innovator in his bloody craft. His favorite weapon? Cyanide. Why? No noise, no mess. He could spray it in someone's face, mix it into food or drink. Death came within minutes, and doctors often wrote it off as a heart attack. A perfect, clean kill. He used everything, from classic pistols and explosives to crossbows with poisoned arrows. He studied his targets, their routines, weaknesses, movements. He could stalk someone for weeks, striking at the moment they least expected it. He was a predator in the urban jungle, and his prey was people. By his own admission, his count ranged between 100 and 250 lives, an entire graveyard built by one man. But the most shocking part was his double life. By day, to his neighbors in the quiet suburb of Dumont, New Jersey, he was a devoted family man, a loving husband, a caring father of 2 daughters. He hosted backyard barbecues, went to church, helped neighbors. No one, not even his wife and children, suspected who he really was. They thought he was a successful businessman. They couldn't imagine that when he went to work, it meant taking a life. This wall between family and his dark side was sacred to him. Inside the home, he was one man. Beyond its doors, someone else entirely. This ability to switch, to be a loving father one minute and a merciless killer the next, made him terrifyingly effective. He had no inner conflict. Work was work, family was family. 2 worlds that must never collide. For decades, he remained untouchable. Police found bodies but could never connect them. No motive, no evidence, no witnesses. He was a ghost. But every legend eventually ends. In the early 1980s, authorities formed a special task force with one goal: to stop the mysterious killer. They began collecting fragments of information, questioning underworld informants.
The key came from one of his former partners, who agreed to cooperate with police. Through him, they got closer to Kuklinski. But how do you prove the guilt of a man who leaves no trace? The FBI made a risky move. They planted one of their best undercover agents, Dominic Polifrone, into his circle. A deadly game began, where one mistake could cost the agent his life. Dominic, posing as a tough gangster, had to earn the Iceman's trust. He offered Kuklinski several contracts, which were staged setups. Every meeting, every conversation was recorded. The agent had to not only befriend the monster, but also make him talk, make him brag about his work. It was a psychological duel, an experienced agent on one side, a master of deception on the other. And Kuklinski fell for it. For the first time in years, he felt a kindred spirit nearby. In conversations with Dominic, he revealed details of past murders, boasted about his methods, bragged about how he fooled the police. Word by word, he dictated his own death sentence. He didn't know that every word was being taped and would become the key evidence in court. His ego, his pride, the very traits that kept him alive, finally destroyed him. In December 1986, the operation reached its climax. Police staged an ambush. When Kuklinski stepped out of his home in the morning to run errands, dozens of agents surrounded him. The Iceman, who had terrorized the underworld for decades, was arrested without a single shot fired. His double life collapsed instantly. For his family, it was pure shock. Their loving husband and father was one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history. The trial was explosive. More and more details of his bloody career emerged. Even behind bars, Kuklinski remained calm and defiant. He gave several infamous interviews, speaking with chilling composure about his crimes. He showed no remorse. For him, it was just a job. He once said, "If I had to do it again, I would. Only this time, I'd do it better." Richard Kuklinski was sentenced to multiple life terms. He died in prison in 2006. But his story became a dark legend. A legend about how violence breeds violence. A reminder that the greatest evil can hide behind the mask of an ordinary man. His life is proof that in every city, on every street, there are shadows. And sometimes,
those shadows take flesh and blood. The story of Richard Kuklinski is more than a crime chronicle. It's a lesson on how darkness born in childhood can consume a man completely, turning him into a monster. He was a product of his environment, but he made the conscious choice to follow that path. If this story made you think, support the channel with a like and subscription. And if we reach 1,000 likes, I'll tell you about Roy DeMeo's crew, the very men who hired Kuklinski, whose death factory will chill even the bravest. Tell me in the comments, what shocked you most in the story of the Iceman? See you soon.